Welcome to the show that salutes our heroes, like BP for heroically trying to lubricate the Gulf of Mexico. Today, I talk about the best and the worst video game movies of all time. So today I want to talk about video games and video game movies. You know, the ones that were really good, the video game movies that were really bad, and video games that I think should be movies in the future. Oh, video game movies are bad. There's no secret to that. I mean, because they have so many things going against it. Budgets, they try to be like the film, too much like the video game itself. There's just so many reasons why a video game movie can go wrong. But one of my top video game movies that I've seen, and this is probably universal for a lot of people, because a lot of people I talk to like this one, but it's Mortal Kombat. The movie came out in 95, and it had a lot, it did the main things that you want in a video game movie. It brought your favorite characters to life. They were represented well. The fighting in the movie itself was really good. Now, the story was just okay, and it was told well enough to where the movie came together and made sense for the most part. Now, the one thing I gotta tell you, I watched this movie again not too long ago, and that movie does not hold up at all. It's so ugly. It's an ugly movie. Now, you look at some of the characters, Reptile, what's the name? Goro. They just, man, it was awful. But the action still looks great, and it was still a pretty good movie, though. So my number 2 favorite movie would have to be Lara Croft, Tomb Raider. And that's not just because the game just came out. But Tomb Raider, again, did the same things that Mortal Kombat did. It kept the essence of the characters themselves. They were represented well. She did all the things that she did in the video game. And the story was decent. Not a great story. Just okay. Service the movie and move the story along. But it's just an alright story. At the time, I think putting Angelina Jolie in the movie was a good move. I mean, she's exotic. She did resemble the character somewhat. But her body is just bad. Not bad as in good. Just like she's bad built. She's like a skinny rectangle, man. She just has a long body, no waist. She's just not, she couldn't get it. Not me. So my next movie, and I don't think a lot of people are going to agree with me on this one, but I'd have to say Prince of Persia. And the Prince of Persia did, again, a lot of the core elements of what a video game movie are supposed to be. It did all of them. It had excellent CG. Again, it only had a decent story. All right, just okay. And the cast was about as Persian as I am, and I'm not Persian. So if you put a little bronze on somebody, I guess that's considered Persian these days, with a British accent. But the action was good. It was a decent movie, and it didn't do really well in the States. I think it did really well overseas, and is the all-time grossing video game movie. But Prince of Persia was really good. Check it out. So I didn't want to just talk about the best video game movie. I wanted to talk about some of the worst, and there's so many to pick from out there that I chose 3 that I thought would be out there. But the first one, and this is probably the worst video game. I know on a couple lists it is, but it's Super Mario Brothers. And Super Mario's such an abstract game. It's like if you did acid, like this is what your world would look like, that it's next to impossible to bring to real life. Mario's 3 feet tall. He jumps 20 feet in the air. They were plumbers in New York. His brother was a Hispanic comedian, John Leguizamo. Yoshi was an actual dinosaur from Jurassic Park. He was a velociraptor. Seriously. Oh my God, Bowser was a white dude. He was a mobster in New York with braids cornrowed to the back. He couldn't even jump. He had some mechanical devices for his feet. It was an awful, awful movie. It was so bad. So another really horrible video game movie is Doom. It had The Rock. The Rock was in there, and I don't know, it tricked me. This is back when I used to watch, if it was sci-fi, I was on it. I would go see it, but it tricked me into thinking that it was going to be a good movie, like Aliens. But it was so bad. Who thought that doing first-person action scenes would be a great move in a movie? It was horrible. The Rock was a bad guy. They were Marine. It was just a terrible, terrible, terrible movie. So my next film, the next worst video game movie, is Resident Evil. That entire movie franchise, and I think there's 4 or 5. Who knows? But you take a survival horror, a horror movie video game, and you make it into a cheesy, low budget B movie action flick. And it just, with every single installment, it just got progressively worse and worse and worse. Her powers got more it was awful, man. It took the movie, and it had elements every once in a while. There were zombies in the first couple, but they turned into other stuff. And it took that, and it just completely went another direction. It was awful. Still is awful. So those are my best and my worst video game movies. Now, I think there's a couple of franchises that could be made into movies. So if they were done right, could be really good movies. My first one is Dead Space. And Dead Space is another twist on the Monster in the House formula. So if they did Dead Space like a horror movie instead of like Resident Evil into an action flick, I think Dead Space could be a really, really good, could make a really, really good movie. Another one would be anything from Bethesda. So the Fallout, the Elder Scrolls, the Skyrim series. Since those are such large, expansive games, I think that you can take that and you would be able to create a movie for it. Create some type of story for it, since they have so much material to go on. So I think that one would be another one that could be a good movie, video game turned movie. I think Mass Effect, that whole franchise is such a epic story that anything from that series, you can make it a series of movies, would work out well as well. And one more, Resident Evil. I don't know it's already on there, but if they redid it like an actual horror movie, and I think they are working on a reboot for Resident Evil, but if they did it like a horror movie, like it should have been, then I think that would be an excellent, excellent, excellent video game movie. Hey, let me know what your opinions are, guys. I look forward to hearing it, listening to it. Also, remember, I'm doing a podcast, so I need more guests. So anyone, if you are up for talking and have opinion on women, relationships, any of that, guys and girls, make sure you leave me a message. Not in the comments, and leave me a message, and I'll make sure that I get back to you. If you like this video, make sure you hit the button. Also, if you're into it, make sure you subscribe. Thanks a lot, guys.